As I mentioned earlier, over the last 2 years, volunteerism has taken a new form and risen to new levels. Here to share with us what that means to her is last year's honoree and champion of housing solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Esther Malkin to the podium.
Let's see if that works.
Good evening, everybody. It's super nice to see everybody in person finally. It's been a long, hard couple of years that we've all endured. I've been asked to speak about my volunteerism, and I'm really not good at speaking about myself. So this is a little trying for me. But I will say that, you know, when I started advocating, I had no idea that it was going to turn into what it did, because I just thought someone else will do it. Someone else has been doing it. And I was finally moved by a piece that I saw in the Monterey County Weekly, that the cover story was on homeless women. And I had been through a move recently, and I'm a renter. I've lived here for 20 years. In the past, I've been a homeowner in 2 states that I've lived in before. And finding a rental 10 years ago was pretty difficult on a single income. And if you have pets, forget it. It took me 3 months to find a place. And as time went by, I started hearing from more and more people that were having the same problem. And so I saw that piece in the County Weekly, and I thought, that could be me. You know, the demographic that they focused on were homeless, middle-aged homeless women, widows, grandmothers, you know, all seniors, people with all kinds of disabilities, and that really spoke to me. So I, you know, having grown up in a middle-class lifestyle my whole life, I all of a sudden wasn't feeling middle class anymore, and I started to educate myself to understand what was actually going on. And in the process of educating myself, I met so many people that I learned from along the way that kept encouraging me to keep, you know, doing what I was doing. And I finally started understanding the topic enough that I was speaking out in public. I went to council meetings. I went to Board of Supervisor meetings. I met with our elected officials from Sacramento. And all along I was telling them, you know, about the plight of renters, because there was really no representation for them in our elected bodies. So I partnered with a couple of these people, and everyone was talking about affordable housing, but nobody was talking about renters. And renters in particular are the ones that tend to become homeless, not so much, you know, people who are homeowners. And, you know, we had a big bump in homelessness during the recession in 2008. So we were saying, you know, we need to have some sort of program to help renters if they come across problems. And we were talking about renter assistance programs for years, and basically we're being, you know, blown off. And then I was at a council meeting, and Katie Castagna was speaking, giving the annual update that they give to the city councils on the CDBG funds and what United Way was going to be doing. And I flagged her down. I'm like, Katie, we need to talk. And so she's been a great partner. I mean, we've worked together on a number of things, but specifically on when the pandemic came around, everything that we had been talking about to elected officials as hypotheticals became true. It was a hypothetical that I said to all of them, what if we had all the workers that can't afford a 1-bedroom apartment walk off their jobs during Car Week on the peninsula? And nobody listened. Nobody really paid that much attention to it. And then COVID came along and proved that what we had said to them was actually fact. So the city of Monterey had announced that they were going to put together an emergency rental assistance program. And they came to me and asked me to help them put it together. And while I was doing that, I brought up the fact that United Way has the 211 system, and that would be a great vehicle to simplify the funds to get out to people. And instead of it doing, city by city, which I had been talking to a number of cities, it just made more sense. And so when I called Katie, she was like, yeah, let me look into this. And they created a program, a computer program for what we were trying to do. And, we helped thousands of people, thankfully. So, anybody can really do what I did. It's just a matter of really educating yourself and making the time to speak to the right people. I mean, I have a full-time paying job, and during pandemic, we were down. I was still getting paid, luckily, because I work for a pretty large corporation that was getting federal money. And so I maximized the time that I had with my downtime from work and really ramped up my advocacy. I was meeting with Mary Adams and everybody else that I could, and it was follow-up meetings, and it was, now we're in the pandemic, and this is reality. We have to do, we have to think about this in a longer term way. So I just want to say that pretty much anybody can do it. We really need people to do it, and I'm privileged enough to have a landlord that is sympathetic to the renter plight, because that's another reason why we don't have renter representation. There's a lot of tricky things that you have to scale around, but making a phone call to an elected official, writing an email, showing up for public comment at city council meetings and the board of supervisor meetings, anybody can do that. And it's really just the bare minimum, but those things actually have more voice than when they hear from me, because they're tired of hearing from me. I'm like a broken record after 5 years of doing this. So I just want to close with one of my favorite quotes from Margaret Mead, which is, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has."
Almost a decade now, and I've known your name the whole time. Emails and
Your station has been very supportive of.
oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, I just wanted to mention that we've seen your advocacy in motion over the years as well. So.
Oh, thank you.
I also just want to appreciate you, Esther. You are so passionate and so driven and focused, and I appreciate that. I find it very inspiring, and I see you as an example of the whole range of volunteerism. Some of us volunteer in very structured ways in programs, organizations that have a lot of oversight, and then sometimes you need to do something that's personally driven, and you're creating that structure in and of yourself. So you didn't wait and go sign up for something. I think you created something, so thank you.
Thanks, Katie.